Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to UK Dreamers. This is Aman, and in today's program, in today's episode, we'll be talking about another innovative person who's done brilliantly. And to enlighten this, we've got Mr. Norman de Villiers, who will enlighten about his innovation, his journey, his failures, his success, and the Guru Mantra for you guys and girls. If you've got ideas in your brains to bring those all out in a way, it's heard well. So, thank you so much, Norman, and welcome to the talk.
Thank you, Aman. Yeah, my innovation is all about hypertension management. When we look at blood pressure, it's at the moment it's quite a numbers game. Every guideline has a set of numbers, and it doesn't matter if you are male or female, or Asian, Caucasian, or African or Caribbean. We're all governed as though we are the same. So it's a one size fits all, but that does not work. We really need to personalize our hypertension management, and that is where my innovation comes into play. It's all about using the hemodynamics. That is actually the state of the arteries or the health of the arteries, and that helps us to take a picture of you as a person and then take you on a journey to help you to either live a healthier life or to help you understand what exactly your medicine is doing for you and you alone. So it's not like a general idea. So what we want here is for people to understand what they say hypertension is all about, because I often, as a pharmacist, I get that when people come to me. So I've been to the GP, he says, I've got high blood pressure, I've got to take medication. I can't remember what the numbers were, but how do you explain to people, what exactly is the problem? And when they start taking medicine, they can't really feel the difference, and they simply stop taking because they think, no, this is not doing something for me, or they get a bit of a side effect, and they also want to stop the medicine because they think, no, this is not good for me. But when they can see what exactly is happening, that can help us understand, yeah, it's a good thing to take this medicine. Or when we change our lifestyle and we can monitor if the effect is there, that can also motivate people to live healthier. Because the NHS said in their forward plan, if we don't prevent long-term conditions and if we don't self-care, we're not going to survive. We have to help people to understand how to look after themselves to live a healthier life, but we also need to find these long-term conditions like hypertension early and try to turn it around, because yes, it can be prevented. It can be actually, the damage could be undone if we pick it up early.
Absolutely. So, as we talk, all these metabolic conditions, they're quite reversible, they're quite treatable. But yeah, once you've entered into the phase of the irreversible damage, essentially there's not much to offer. So, guys and girls, Norman has not told us about himself. So, Norman is a clinical entrepreneur just like me at the NHS Clinical Entrepreneurs Program. He's also a pharmacist by background. So Norman, tell us what made you think that you should work on hypertension. There would be a triggering factor or a pushing factor that made you think about your innovation.
Yeah, exactly. About 10 years ago, I saw this technology and I thought, you know what? This is what we need. If we can make this available to each and everybody, easily available, like they can walk into a pharmacy and have themselves checked with this, that will make our lives a lot easier for both the pharmacy and the GPs, because now we have something to show people. So I started studying this technology quite intensively, and in the meantime, it's advanced and it grew quite rapidly. There's a guy like Professor Julio Chirinos. He's the president of the North American Artery Society. He wrote a very comprehensive guidebook on arterial stiffness and arterial health, and also around the hemodynamics. And the beauty of his guide is he pulled in contributions from all the leading scientists in the world into this guidebook of his, which is very, very comprehensive. And I was also fortunate to join the study of the military, where they look at how amputations affect cardiovascular risk. And there we use hemodynamics quite extensively to work out exactly how amputations that soldiers picked up on the battlefield, how that affected their heart health. And that led me to the point where we developed an easy portal where we use this technology to capture it and put it on people's phones so they can walk in, have their heart health screened, and then they walk out with the information on their phone.
Absolutely. So I think Norman, it'll be better if you gave the presentation that you've prepared today, so people get a bit more insight, and then we could go and have a chat about the things that you've learned and the people could learn from your innovation. So would you be happy to share the presentation?
Yes, of course. Yeah, let me show you what hemodynamics is all about, because I think, especially for you guys, like where you're GPs, it is quite useful to learn about it, because I don't believe it is in your curriculum yet, but I'm sure it's going to come, because this is really the new way we're going to manage hypertension health. Okay.
Sure.
So the beauty of the new way of looking at hypertension health is we can actually see a stroke or a heart attack or even vascular dementia coming, and we can do something about it. And then we can monitor to see if it's working. Now, as I said before, the NHS realized we need to help people to prevent cardiovascular disease, and we also need to help people to self-care. Give them information, validated information, that they can make informed choices. And that is where the world is now. I mean, everybody has easy access to information. Why not their own health? If we can help them to understand exactly where they are, it makes life so much easier. Now imagine when you look at blood pressure as we know it. We put the cuff on the arm, and we really just look at the whole thing as when you look through a keyhole. You see three numbers. You see the systolic, the diastolic, and the heart rate. That's about all we have at the moment to go with. And in fact, that is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more happening underneath the surface that we should be aware about. And that is where Medi-Stats, our innovation, comes into play. We actually open the door to help you see what is happening inside our bodies. What is the state of the arteries like? How hard does the heart have to work to pump the blood around? What is the pulse pressure? What is the blood pressure at the heart itself, and not only at the arm? What is the stiffness of the arteries? How is that affected by medication or by lifestyle? And also, the other beauty of this process is we pick up atrial fibrillation very accurately. It is found to be 96% accurate to a 12-lead ECG. So that is another way of ruling out atrial fibrillation. Now, we all know that cardiovascular disease starts with endothelial dysfunction. So that is when the inner layer, that smooth Teflon layer of our arteries, become dysfunctional, and it becomes more like Velcro, and we get cholesterol sticking to it. Now, the various factors that affect this endothelial dysfunction, and the main one is a lack of nitric oxide. Now, nitric oxide is a trigger molecule that is produced in this endothelium, and it's normally done by variable pace exercise. And that endothelial nitric oxide rules our lives. If that's not there, our arteries become stiffer and we have cardiovascular disease. So we can stimulate that with medicine and make our arteries healthy again. Then we measure the pulse waves. Now, the pulse waves are quite important. You know that pulse that you feel on your arm? That starts at the heart, when the blood is dumped into the aorta. And the aorta absorbs it and pushes it through the arterial system at a moderate pace and pressure. Now, when these pulse waves move down the arteries, and where the arteries split, it gets bounced back at the heart. And the stiffer the arteries become, the faster these waves move towards the heart. Now, then when the heart wants to pump, it's got that back pressure to deal with. And the best way to explain this is with the Wien-Kessler model. If you allow me to play that, that is a acknowledged model to use. You can see here how the aorta absorbs the pulses. The pressure peaks are quite low, and the flow is moderate going out. And this is the pulse wave that we measure. The red one is at the arm, and the blue one is at the heart. Now, this is a typical good pulse wave. The T1 is your systolic pressure, then T4 is where your diastolic pressure goes on. Now, as the arteries become stiffer, this whole scenario changes. And let me move it on a bit. We see a change in the shape of this pulse wave. We can see here how the pulses peak and the pulse pressure increases. So that is the risk. If it looks like that, it's a stroke coming, because that high pulse pressure is hammering the microcirculation both in the brain and also in the kidneys, causing kidney damage or a stroke. And our pulse pressure wave changes as well. So this is where the systolic should happen, but the pressure has got to increase all the way to T3 to counter that pulse wave that comes back at the heart. Now, it sounds a bit highbrow, but that is just a background indication of exactly what is happening in our arterial system and how it affects our heart health. Now, the nitric oxide is produced by variable pace exercise or high intensity training, or by blood pressure medication. Now, when we do the variable pace exercise, and we do that regularly, say 4 or 5 days a week, that gives us a residual effect. So your arteries become flexible, and it kind of stays with us. Our blood pressure is down. Our the inner layer, that endothelium, is smooth like Teflon, cholesterol can't stick. So we live a healthy life, but we have to do that regularly. When we do take medication for blood pressure, it also produces the nitric oxide, but when you take it away, the problem is back. So you don't get a residual effect there. It's quite important. Now, all of this is now possible with a simple cuff device in the consultation room, on the upper arm, no extra training needed. It takes a minute, and we record 38 parameters instead of just the 3. And we make it visible on the patient's phone. They take it home, they know exactly what is going on, and they can interact with it. And we can then actually measure to see when there's cardiovascular risk, what happens when they do, say, more exercise or eat better food or sleep more, etc. So all of that is measurable now. Now, we need to start looking at checking people when they're young. This is a very good example of a very healthy athlete. He was 29. First time that they realized there was something wrong was when he had a stroke. He said he passed away under 30. So it shows you age doesn't always protect us. Although when we're young, we think we are what is the word? Nothing can kill us. The new medicine, so when somebody's been diagnosed with hypertension, we can show somebody, in this case, we started on Ramipril, exactly what's happening after a week. And the patient can understand, yes, that is what the Ramipril is doing for me. The GP or the clinician can also see, yeah, the medicine that I've given is working, and exactly that is the outcome. Again, just a broader picture of the hill runs. We all know and we all hear daily do hill runs, but why? And this is exactly the situation. We go up hills, short period, 20 seconds, walk down, upstairs, kettlebell swings, all sorts of exercises that increase the heart risk for short periods. That is what we need. If we do, in fact, the endurance athletes, where you keep your heart rate up at the long periods, that does cause a problem, because that causes mechanical strain, and you can have damage to your arterial system. So too much of a good thing, not always a good idea. We can actually deprescribe very easily. We can take medicine away and look at the pulse wave to see if it changes, if there are any changes, and then we can know, yes, the medicine is working or not. So keep it on or take it away. We can do ambulatory blood pressure monitoring very easily with a validated wristband. It feeds straight into the patient records, so we can very easily see what's happening after medication. Yes, we cannot take the pulse waves with a wristband, but at least we can follow the blood pressure 24/7, and we can easily contact the patient when we see that it's not working. So this helps us with a digital ambulatory pressure instead of putting a heavy pump device on the arm that pumps up every 15 minutes, every half hour. This is much more user-friendly. The other very, very valuable part of this new technology is we can pick up atrial fibrillation opportunistic. So with every check, we can see if somebody has got atrial fibrillation, and that is quite important. We measure it with pulse rate variability. We have a 10-second snapshot of the rhythm, so we can see, yes, that is what atrial fibrillation looks like, and the patient can understand. So it gives us early referral and early treatment. So if you think the implementation is daunting, no, it can be simple. We still start with the normal brachial blood pressure, systolic, diastolic. But then if you want to know why is it high, you have a deeper knowledge to carry on. And to summarize, hypertension is the silent killer. The numbers are there, British Heart Foundation, and we know with high blood pressure, it is common but costly. It's going to affect 1 in 3 adults. So if you think about 2 of your friends, adults, 1 of you will develop a heart problem. And the answer lies in personalized management, and that is done by hemodynamics. And it also has been proven already with a study that it can control hypertension up to 85%, where the current control is only at 23%. That is globally. Yes, and the BHF says in the UK it's about 38%. Those figures vary, but it shows you there's a huge improvement in hypertension management if we use these hemodynamics. And also what was very important, a new study proved that preeclampsia can be detected in the first trimester with 83% accuracy, where the current guidelines is only sitting at 30%. So that is my story, Aman. Thank you.
That's great, Norman. Thank you so much. Great. Wow, you've given us a master class about how we can treat hypertension in the primary world, basic. So Norman, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. I think not per se of your innovation. It's like you've done this so much of work. Where are you now with all of this?
Yeah, we are ready to roll it out. We've done lots of research. We've done mostly anecdotal pilots because it costs money to do a proper pilot. The technology is already CE approved and validated. Is also FDA approved. There's even one of these devices on the International Space Station. The software, however, we are drawing in AI now to help us with the validation and also the interpretation of the results, because that is something we need to help the physicians with, because we haven't got much time when we see a patient. So what we're looking at right now is to do regulatory approval for the software to do the class 2A. So that is happening. We are looking at various places where we can roll it out to get more information. But the whole idea is to see what we find in the field and how we can learn from AI to make it as easy as possible to interpret these results, because this is new to all of us. I presume you haven't learned much about this in your curriculum. And even when we look at the guidelines around the world, hemodynamics are not really included in that, although we do it. But now we have a way to measure it, and that was always the problem. We knew it was there, but we couldn't measure it. And the advance in sophisticated technology has now made it possible that we can put a cuff on the arm and just measure it. So yeah, we are now ready to roll it out and help the NHS to make hypertension and cardiovascular disease preventable and help people to live healthier with more information.
I saw one of your slides. Why it's so daunting? So, I mean, one simple question, Norman: will the patients be able to, modify their own medications, or it's still going to be the GP who's going to lower or up the doses?
It will still be the GP because this technology is going to be more for the clinician to
Mhm.
help understand, but also to give the patient that kind of guidance, somebody to hold the patient's hand, to tell them more about how they should live, how they can live healthier. But also the important bit is we can now use the pharmacy market to do the checking and send the data to the GP. So when the GP sits down with the patient and we've got that 10 minutes for a consultation, you have this data available to help you make a decision. But also in the process, we can help educate people to understand their heart health better, because people are more scared of cancer than heart disease. And heart disease kills about 3 times more people than cancer. And but just because we don't know about it, we don't know enough about it. But knowledge is power. Once we know how to live healthier, we can live healthier.
Absolutely. So, Norman, tell us a bit, like, all of this journey that you've come to the final, what to say, product, right?
Yeah.
What were the three main hiccups that you faced during your journey in, creating an innovation from an idea to a actually market viable product?
First, probably money. It cost a lot of money to develop this, and also determination. You get a lot of people that don't quite understand how we can so easily progress to new technology. It's a big beast. If you think about blood pressure management, it is the most performed activity in primary care. And now I'm telling them we got to change this. And that is a big beast to move. And also, when you look at who you're going to ask to comment on this, would be a cardiologist, right? But cardiologists live on the end of the cycle where the damage is done, where they got to deal with heart failure, heart attacks, whatever has happened there. That is their side. We are now in the beginning of the phase where we hope that we can, and we can actually return or reverse the damage, because once you pick up that the arteries become stiffer and you do the right kind of exercise, you actually reverse the damage. And that is the beauty. And you can pick it up even before the blood pressure goes up. And we've seen the many times where we have a patient with normal blood pressure. Fine, you would have sent them on the way and none the wiser. But when you do this kind of check, you see, oh, the arteries has already been or have already become stiffer. So the damage is slowly happening. And when we look at, say, women as well, when they go in post-menopause, the estrogen is not there to protect the arteries anymore, because the estrogen also produces the nitric oxide or stimulates the nitric oxide. So all of these factors are coming into play now. Now, to um, get people to understand and take it on and get the authorities to realize, yes, there is a way to do it. It's going to be a big motion because we've got to change the whole way of looking at this, from reacting when the blood pressure is high and then start giving medicine, to a point where we can say, right, let's look at a bigger screening and we can monitor. And also the big thing that I found, Aman, is we know, and the study's proven it now, if we can manage the hypertension better over 2 to 3 years, we can prevent these cardiovascular events from happening. So that means we have to check people more often, which will cost money, but the investment will be worth the return if we can prevent these happening. Because once you have a stroke or a heart attack, you're never the same. And
Yeah.
it's the society money as well, not only the healthcare, but also the society.
Absolutely. So Norman, what would your take-home points would be for guys and girls like me? As I said, unfortunately, there's a bit of inequality in terms of you developing your ideas. If you're near the bigger cities, if you're near London, you meet more people, you meet more investors, you meet more innovators, entrepreneurs. So journey is a bit different. The trajectory is a bit different. But for guys and girls who are up in Midlands, up north, Scotland, Northern Ireland, anywhere in the world, what would your take home message would be if you've got an idea what should be the plan like, to make it that idea work essentially?
I think something that was very important for me is to find out how, for argument's sake, would NICE look at this or the NHS innovation? What would they want to see from your innovation? Because if you look at what we're doing here, it sounds like a no-brainer. I mean, everybody says to me, "Oh, why is this not everybody everywhere? Why has nobody told me this is how my heart works?" You think, yes, it's easy, but it's not. You have to see, for argument's sake, if you look at NHS innovation, how they look at a new development or a new innovation. What do they want to see? How would it change the way we work? What we're doing currently? How would it make it better? What will the cost impact be? How will people be affected by it? But once you have clarity in your head that what you are planning will work, will make things better, then keep going. Don't be knocked over by the first obstacle that comes in your way, because they will come. They do come thick and fast. But keep going and believe in yourself and push that idea out. And if you can apply for a project like the Clinical Entrepreneurial Program that we are on at the moment, that is amazing. That was the best interaction I've ever seen, the best introduction to the right people, talking to other entrepreneurs. It just helps that community of people to boost you. When you feel down in the ground, you've hit so many obstacles, you think, how am I going to go further? Then somebody else tells you about their journey and how they overcome it, and that is just the way it just helps to motivate you. Because yeah, it's hard work, but it's satisfactory at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Norman, just the last question before we wrap up. How did you come up with the specific name for your innovation? How did you juggle through? Did you ask people? Did you ask your family? I think because AI was still not as much it's used now when you came up with the name. So how did you come up with the name?
That was quite a journey. We had different names, lots of different names. But I think we looked at what are we doing really? And once you take your innovation, your idea, and you break it apart, you think, okay, these are all the facets about it. And you try to find a very short combination of all those facets. And that is how we came upon the name of Medi-Stats. So it is the statistics of your medical information that is yours. It belongs to you. And that is how we decided on the name.
That's great. That's great. So, ladies and gentlemen, Norman has given us a masterclass on how you take your idea and make it into a final product. So, if you want to have a more information, go on Google, search Medi-Stat. It would be available on the internet. And yes, we are more than happy. If you've got queries, just drop them in the comment section below. Me and Norman would try to get back to you. So, thank you so much, Norman. I sincerely wish this goes, into the right trajectory as you've planned, and it saves lot many people from the, tertiary effects of all these hypertension and metabolic diseases, especially people of my heritage. We are so much prone genetically to have hypertension and metabolic, disorders. So, guys and girls, take care of your blood pressure. Use whatever you can to reduce it down in the right time, not when you've reached the hospital. So, any further thing to end up, Norman, from your end?
No, I think I thank you for doing this. It's so important that we can help educate, because it's not only the clinicians that we got to educate, but also the public. And I hope that this conversation was not too highbrow, that I try to keep it as conversational as possible, that we all can gather what we can learn from it. And the take-home message is look after yourself 5, 6 days a week, and that's the way to do it. And put that variable pace exercise into your program, whatever you do to keep fit. Do that regularly. Look after your heart, because we all think to just do the muscle bits, but we forget about the heart bits. So keep that heart bit going, and that's the way to do it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Norman. See you guys in the next video. Thank you.